Hello, everybody, and welcome to At the Book from downtown New Orleans here, from somewhere in Lafayette over there. We are Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru Urquhart here. How was your afternoon? Top of the afternoon to you there, Spencer, on this St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, Jim. Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day. And, it's been a wild start to March Madness, man. Iowa here losing right now. Hopefully that doesn't stay like that because I know we both had them going far in our brackets.
Yeah, don't mess up my Final Four in day one. You can mess it up later in the weekend, but we don't want to do that right now. All right. We got a packed show for you today. I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to lead the show off with. Although March Madness is going on and we are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs about the NCAA Tournament, we got to talk about Deshaun Watson and the New Orleans Saints rumors and the Atlanta Falcons. There is almost no question now that Deshaun Watson is going to either the Atlanta Falcons or the New Orleans Saints, which means Hoodats are either going to really, really love Deshaun Watson or they're really, really going to hate Deshaun Watson. There's not going to be any in between. Of course, if he signs with the Saints, he did nothing wrong. He's a model citizen. He's a perfect stand-up guy. And if he goes to the Atlanta Falcons, he is just a clown who should be found guilty of everything he's ever been charged with. He should be suspended for 2 years. And we're going to find out which one Hoodats are going to be feeling probably by the end of the day, if not before the end of the show. We have had many times, Spencer, when we have had breaking news literally like 5 minutes after we've gone off the air. So it could happen that way, but we'll see. I think it's going to happen sometime later this afternoon or this evening.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's inevitable here, and I think he's finally got it decided. The two teams. It's crazy. He's under contract, yet he's treating this like it's a free agency tour. I've never seen anything like this, but it just goes to show how much power that these franchise quarterbacks have nowadays.
Well, I think you sound like you're setting yourself up to be a little upset there, Spencer. I mean, look, we're in a business where things don't always go the way we necessarily want them to go. And go-getter Toy Britain says she's ready to get pinched. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. She must not be wearing green. She's got her shamrocks going on there.
Yeah, I wore my green. I know. I don't have it unless there's some green on this shirt here.
It's a little dark
too.
Yeah,
so.
It's a little dark. I didn't bring my light, but this is a green. It's a dark forest green. So I don't want anyone to walk up behind me. If you're here at Harrah's, don't come and pinch me. You can come give me rabbit ears if you want any of that good stuff, but stay away from the pinching.
Yeah, okay. Is that green enough? Oh, you might get pinched there.
Right. Okay, well, there you go. There's the answer. She is not wearing green. Okay, so I'm not doing any pinching. I'm married. I don't think my wife would like that, so we're just going to stay away from that, Spencer. And maybe Saints fans will be hoping Deshaun Watson does something like that and gets himself into trouble if he goes to the Falcons. All kidding aside, yesterday when I put the post up about the Saints odds changing from 50 to 1 to 18 to 1, we're going to get to the odds in just a minute. I mean, to me, that meant one thing, that Vegas knew something, okay? However, today there have been developments. Kyle Pitts tweeted this morning, which has since been deleted, that something big was about to happen. And then later on in the afternoon, Michael Thomas has unfollowed Mr. Watson on Twitter and both Instagram. And so we don't know what that means. I mean, we're trying to read things and we don't know what the answers are. As Craig Williams says, Deshaun is just finalizing a deal on how much power he's going to have on player personnel. He's a New Orleans lock. He is, Craig, I hate to break this to you. But it's anything but a lock. And I got to say that if I had to put percentages on it right now, I would say it's probably more like 70% Atlanta and 30% Saints. What do you think, Spencer?
Oh man, yeah, I'd say it's probably closer more to 50-50 because when you look at the Saints roster, it's definitely superior to Atlanta. I think that's the holdup here is that if Atlanta had a better roster, I'd feel like, yeah, he's going to go there because it was near his hometown. He was a ball boy there as a kid. Like, I think, like, in his heart, that's where he wants to go. But in his head, he's like, damn, if I go here, this is going to be a really tough road. They've got no weapons. They've got a terrible defense. I mean, at least with the Saints, you've got a strong defense with Dennis Allen. And then he can get the offense good. Him, Kamara, Michael Thomas. I mean, with the Saints, you've really got potential to get some rings. So I think he's really torn on that. Will he go with I think his head's telling him the Saints and his heart's telling him Atlanta, since it's near to his hometown and all that. So it'll be interesting.
Here's the problem though, Spencer. I think it has a lot to do with where he wants to go, but it is not 100% where Deshaun Watson wants to go. Here's the deal. I mean, if the Texans are presented what they believe is a much better offer from Atlanta, and is far superior than what they're getting from the Saints, and he goes to the Texans and say, look, I'd rather go to the Saints, but I'm not going to veto a trade to the Falcons, which is seriously possible. I mean, so the Texans do have some say-so. I mean, while Deshaun Watson holds the leverage, it is not all Deshaun Watson. It's not like he says, now, if he went and said, I'm only going to go to the Saints, that is the only team I will waive my no trade contract, then the Texans would probably be back to a corner and have to do that. But I doubt seriously he's saying that. I mean, he's probably willing to go to either one of those teams. And if the Falcons, who have the 8th pick in the draft, have the better offer, and with the cap space that the Falcons have besides that, I don't know, man. I don't have a good feeling about it today. We do have some comments. You guys feel free to leave comments in here in the Facebook live stream if you're wearing anything. Daryl, you're not wearing green either? Okay, I'm not pitching you either, buddy. That's off limits. And then Dolores Caminita says, hey, guys, we say hello to you, and we thank you for joining us here on the At the Book show today. Douglas Davis says they want too much for him. I don't disagree with that. That's another part of it. I mean, to me, I'm kind of torn. I mean, obviously for Saints fans and going forward, you get a chance to get a franchise quarterback. It doesn't come along very often, this chance. However, when you mortgage your future, how much is that immediately going to pay off when you're talking about the potential of giving up 3 number ones, maybe a guy like Eric McCoy or another veteran or a CD Deuce or someone along those lines? Because there's the rumors
of Debo has floated.
All kinds of names you've been hearing, but it probably starts with 3 number ones. And you're talking about giving up 3 number ones. Now, if you get your franchise quarterback, you're talking about 3 number ones that are probably in the 20s. But I just don't know if you can afford to give that out. I've been saying this all along. As much as I would love, because it's a lot more fun to cover a team that's winning than to cover a team that's either losing or mediocre like we had last year. But at the same time, I don't know that they can give that kind of money up. And we see, I'll let you answer in just a second, Spencer. Chris Luna says they want way too much. Watson comes, he's going to be out for 6 games. I don't think he's going to be out for 6 games. I do think he's going to miss some times, but I think 6 games is probably a little bit much. I think it's probably more like 3 or 4. Rob Landfair says, who dat, y'all? So no official D-Watt developments today other than social media mumblings? No, there are nothing, but Amy just reported earlier on Twitter 2 hours ago, she said that it was, quote, imminent. The trade is imminent, which means it's going to happen today. I would be very surprised if it doesn't happen today. In fact, I think it's very possible it happens before we get off the show. Douglas Davis says plus players. Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. JJ Barra says Saints will be under 40 million under the salary cap. Well, they'll have to be able to make the move. They're not there yet. I think they're right now about 24 million under the cap after the moves, but they did have some dead cap money come off when Jameis Winston's deal and Teron Armstead's deal went through the books there, Spencer. So back to what we're talking about. What do you think about the high price of 3 number ones and obviously potentially a major starter at the minimum?
Right. Yeah, that is an extremely high price to pay. And honestly, I know franchise quarterbacks obviously don't grow on trees. I mean, they're the most coveted asset in the entire NFL. But I personally wouldn't do it because I feel like with I know it's just allegations. I know he didn't get charged with anything, but just kind of one of those deals to where it's a slippery slope to where, I mean, I don't know if I'd want him as the leader of the team, like in the face of the franchise. I mean, if you give all this up, I mean, Deshaun Watson will become the face of the Saints. And I mean, is he up for that? I mean, with the Texans, I mean, he put up good statistics, but I mean, when the chips were down, and yeah, he led the league in passing yards in 2020, but the team itself was terrible. And I mean, I just don't know if he's worth it, and I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, so if Atlanta does get him, yeah, it sucks that a division team gets him, but I mean, their roster is not very good. He's not going to be able to do it by himself. You need a defense.
Here's the problem, though, Spencer. Here's the problem, though. I have a problem with we're using allegations in the past of a potential problem for the future. And I have a problem with that. I mean, the guy has obviously had some sort of issues, but from everything that I've read and heard, he was a model citizen when he went to Clemson. He did get himself into some kind of trouble, but we don't know what that trouble is. We don't know what allegations are true and not true. And Jameis Winston has gotten himself into trouble, and he seems that he's gotten out of it since he had all that trouble too. So to say that you're afraid of the face of your franchise having alleged troubles, that worries me, because then you're putting an onus on a guy who has no defense for himself if you're allowing allegations to cloud his persona, I guess. So I mean, that is a slippery slope that is scary to go through. Douglas Davis says, did Mrs. Benson meet with him for a second time? He met with the Saints for a second time. I'm not 100% sure who Deshaun Watson met with when he met with the Saints for a second time. He did meet.
I think they said Miss Benson was on the plane. Okay. I'm pretty sure she was.
And that's the thing to me. That is a huge key. If Mrs. Benson is signing off on trading for Deshaun Watson, well, that says a lot. I mean, because obviously, and look, one thing you're certainly right about is whether the allegations are true, whether it should or should not stick to his persona and all that, and how long we go forward with that, and whether he gets suspended or whatever. He is going to come with some baggage if he does come wherever he goes, because once I can tell you, as we get closer to the season, there is going to be a lot of hashtag Me Too stuff coming on. There is going to be plenty, because it's gonna slip away from football, and it's going to be more talk about things that allege that he's done. So that certainly is going to be a part of that. But again, you got a chance to get a free agent quarterback. I am not alone. I'm torn. I really am. I'm torn. I don't know if anybody's worth 3 number ones in a key starter, which is, again, the bare minimum price. Joe Weems says, winning will magically cause any concerns to dissipate like a fart in the wind. Well, let me just tell you, Joe, it's not just the image among Saints fans. It's the image from the outside that you're going to have to deal with, and have to deal with for a long time. And again, that is not just something to take lightly. All right, now look, we ran a story yesterday afternoon about the odds changing here at Caesars Sportsbook. They went from 50-1 last week to 40-1 on Monday. And then yesterday, they mysteriously, magically went to 18-1, which means somebody knows something. I can also tell you that here, being in Harris, when I left my house in Mandeville, Atlanta was a 40-1. Their odds to win the Super Bowl were 40-1. When I got here at Harris, they're 30-1. So we know now that, Spencer, that it's clearly out of the Saints and Falcons. And yesterday, I was just clear that Vegas knew something. Well, they knew something. They knew that the Saints were a finalist. Maybe we read a little bit too much into it. Maybe not. We'll find out soon.
Right. Yeah, Atlanta. The other thing with Atlanta that's interesting is what's going to happen with Matt Ryan, because he's still under contract on a really bloated deal, and I don't think the Texans are going to be real thrilled about taking him. So shoot, they might have to try to find a trade partner for him. So I mean, it's a mess, man. I don't know. That's why I still feel like even though I'm not like super thrilled about getting him, I think the Saints are I know Atlanta's got the higher pick, but the Saints are in a better position to me because they don't have a quarterback under contract to have to worry about. They don't have a Matt Ryan dead weight contract there. So they can have those couple of young players that the Texans want, and then all the draft picks.
They would absolutely, the Falcons would absolutely have to find a partner for Matt Ryan before they could make the deal. They could not. I don't think they could take on Deshaun Watson and have Matt Ryan on contract, under contract at the same time. So that could be potentially part of what's holding up the thing as well. I mean, they could be trying to trade Matt Ryan right now. It could be all on the Falcons. And so maybe it comes down to somebody that wants Matt Ryan. We'll see. But then rumors start leaking out. We'll find out some more. Elmer says, we need a franchise quarterback regardless, unless we want to be 9-8, 8-9 for years to come until the next Watson and Wilson becomes available. I don't disagree. But I also think that people are not giving enough credit to Jameis Winston. And we only saw him for 7 games last year. He changed my mind in a matter of 7 games. So I'm not so sure that Jameis Winston can't. He's not Deshaun Watson. Okay, we know that. But he could be a franchise leading type quarterback. And I think he improved so much in 7 games, Spencer, that I think there's a chance that he could be the guy you want and could lead this team to where they need to be.
Right, yeah, because he showed improvement. You know, he cut down on the amount of bad balls. I know Jeff Duncan brought that up Monday as the reason why he's the guy it's hard to trust, because he throws his bad ball percentage is pretty high, but he's gotten better though, to me, from what I've seen. I mean, sometimes it's annoying the way he seems to be a type of quarterback that locks onto his primary read and can kind of just throw those just F it type balls. But I think though that he's still somebody that you don't want to wait forever, because if he would leave and you whiff on Watson, then you got nothing. So it's risky, man. But that's the way the Saints do business. The Saints under Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton's going, but the risk, like the gambling, the way the Saints like to do things, like they're very much swing for the fence, and that has not changed even though Sean Payton's left the building.
Joe Weems, you say you don't want Matt Ryan, you have nothing to worry about. You just threw up a little bit. I get it. I think a lot of Saints fans would just pop to his head. He got the mental.
Yeah, no, that can't. It's not happening.
Matt Ryan's not coming to New Orleans. Matt Ryan wouldn't want to come to New Orleans. B, Saints don't want Matt Ryan in E, F, G, D, whatever letter you want to use. He's just not coming here. That would never happen. They wouldn't even try to come here. Michael Brewer says, and I appreciate all the comments today. This is more comments than we've had in quite a while. The Saints need to keep Jameis Winston and draft a future quarterback. Here's the problem with that, Michael. There's no one out there that the Saints are going to be able to get right now that could be a potential franchise quarterback. There's 2 guys to me that possibly could be franchise quarterbacks, or at least number ones in the NFL. Maybe not even franchise quarterback. I don't think there's anybody who could be a franchise quarterback. I mean, there's 2 guys that could be number ones. That's Kenny Pickett of Pittsburgh. Will never make it to the Saints. And then there's Matt Corral, who I doubt the Saints would definitely have to trade up to get Matt Corral. And he's a guy that always gets hurt. Or not always. He's gotten hurt quite a bit. So it's really, at this point, Watson or Winston. And like Spencer said, if you don't get Watson and then Winston, how much are his feelings hurt? How much does he say, you didn't want me, you were trying to get Deshaun Watson, you know what, maybe I'll just go to the Colts. So it's a dicey situation right now, and the Saints are you talk about make or break. I mean, it's truly boon or bust. I mean, the Saints could have Watson or even Winston and be in great shape, Spencer, or they could have neither one and be in a whole world of hurt.
Oh, what you talk about? I mean, it's just, man, I've always been a black and gold guy. I got the flag in the back, but man, I tell you what, this is a stressful time to be a Saints fan. I just hope they make the right call, because this is a franchise altering decision. I mean, this could be a thing that keeps the Saints in Super Bowl contention for the next decade plus, or this could be a deal to where they'll be, hate to say it, but scrapping just to stay above 500. So we'll have to see. I want to know what I like to throw in about the future quarterbacks, like the draft classes. The 22 class, yes, is very weak. I would not touch it. The other guy that you could maybe consider be Malik Willis, but I feel like he'd be too much of a project. And but
there's no way
the 23 class though for quarterbacks is projected to be really nice with Bryce Young from Alabama and the Ohio State kid. So yeah, I would say if we can't get Watson, bring Jameis back and wait till 2023 to draft the QB.
Or 2024, because both of those guys might be 2 years away. Andy Erica Slezak asked, why did we draft Ian Book if we don't have plans for him? Simple. A guy that you draft, you may think that he's a potential starting quarterback at some point, and then you spend a year with him and you realize that he doesn't have it. I mean, the Saints have drafted quarterbacks in the past that it just didn't turn out. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for Ian Book, because he potentially could be a starting quarterback. But the thing is, if you want to win right now, the window on this and we're going to talk a lot about this on Datitude tomorrow with Jeff Duncan, tomorrow morning. In fact, it's going to be out early because Jeff and I are going to be talking about 8, so I'm hoping to have the podcast out by about 9:30. But here's the thing. Ian Book is nowhere near ready to be a starter in the NFL. I mean, I don't even think he's really ready to be a number 2 right now. So we saw what he did in that Monday night game against Miami. So if the window is closing on this defense. They are getting older. Demario Davis is in his low 30s now. Malcolm Jenkins probably has 1 or 2 years left. You're talking about other guys. C.D. Deuce is in the prime of his career if he stays here. But you're talking about a lot of windows closing on this defense. So if you want to take advantage on how well this defense has played, man, you got to win now. And you can't have the offense that you had last year. So last thoughts before we move on, because I want to make this about a 40-minute show. We still got a lot of NCAA tournament to talk about. Spencer, last thoughts on the Saints quarterback situation before we move on.
For sure. Yeah, I guess the last thoughts would just be, about Ian Book. I mean, he's just such a project. I think they just took him as a dart throw. And, just they weren't really, when you draft a guy in the 4th round, you don't really expect him to be a franchise QB. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he develops. And then, just to be I'd say if you can't get Watson or Winston, then this might sound crazy, but it'd almost be like, well, you don't want to just punt the season, but it would be a deal to where you're going to be you're probably going to be mediocre, and then you just got to hope you can find a replacement in the 23 class and just have a guy that can be a game manager, like a Jimmy Garoppolo type, maybe, somebody that can manage the game and have the defense carry.
All right. Stick with us because I'm going to check some things and we will see where we're at before we close this show down. We've got about 20 minutes left in the show. We will talk about this one more time when we get towards the end of the show, especially in our final thoughts. And again, tomorrow on Datitude, the Datitude podcast, if you have not checked out the Datitude podcast, it runs every Friday and it runs twice a week when the news warrants and 3 times a week during football season. It is brought to you here by bet.NOLA.com. And Jeff Duncan is going to be on the show tomorrow. Jeff Duncan has been all over the situation. Talked to him last night. He had some great information. And so far, everything he told me, basically, it's off the record, is kind of coming to fruition. So I'm going to pick his brain tomorrow morning. Check that out, Datitude Podcast. You can find it wherever you find your podcast, and you can find it here on bet.NOLA.com. Speaking of that, before we get to the NCAA, Patrick, I forgot to mention this. And since I'm here at beautiful Harrah's, Caesars Sportsbook is the proud odds partner of bet.NOLA.com. And if you go to bet.NOLA.com, you can get take advantage of their promotion. NOLA, use the code NOLACZR. Any bet you make, now's the perfect time, right? The NCAA tournament's going on. Your first bet, if you sign up, your first bet, any bet you make, up to $1,100 is insured, meaning that if you were to lose whatever bet you make, you will get that amount of a free bet on Caesars Sportsbook. In other words, $5 bet, you get a $5 free bet, you lose. You make a $100 bet, you lose, you get a $100 free bet. You make an $1,100 bet on Caesars Sportsbook.com, Caesars Sportsbook, which I don't recommend. But if you do it and you lose, you will get an $1,100 free bet. Sounds like a good deal to me. And again, NOLACZR is the code. Go sign up now at Caesars Sportsbook. Okay, but always bet responsibly. You don't want the leprechauns coming out to get you and playing tricks on you and all that good stuff. So bet responsibly. Don't be like Jim Derry and losing all across the board. All right, let's move on to the NCAA tournament. Again, we will get back to the Saints in just a minute. But we talked about the Thursday games today. We told you what we liked. So let's talk about the Friday games, of which LSU is a part. We're going to start off with the early slate, Spencer, and it's the same schedule that we had for today. Ohio State and Sister Jean. It's a pick'em game right now. This has kind of shifted a little bit. Loyola Chicago was a slight favorite. People are betting on Ohio State because it's now become a pick'em game. Auburn is a 15.5-point favorite over Jacksonville State. Texas Tech 15 over Montana State. And rounding out the morning session or the early afternoon session, however you want to look at it, the third seeded Purdue Boilermakers are a 16-point favorite over 14th seeded Yale. Purdue, I think it's going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems.
Right. Yeah, I got them going not just to the Final Four, but to the championship game. So, yeah, I think they'll cover that. And then, I'm going with Sister Jean, with Loyola Chicago there. I think they're going to win that. I think at pick 'em, it's obviously going to be really close probably, but I would feel decent about that. They're a legit team. They had a smaller conference, but they've shown in the past that they can hang with these power type teams. And so I think they're a solid pick there. And then Auburn, Texas Tech. Yeah, it's just tough when you got the spreads this wide. I'd probably stay away from those. I probably feel a little better about Purdue's.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when we pick on best bets for tomorrow. But I will say this. I'm not normally a huge favorite guy, especially in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. But Texas Tech and Purdue, I do like both of those big favorites. I think they will roll as Baylor was rolling on Norfolk the last I looked. Give me an Iowa update real quick, Spencer.
Oh, it's getting down to it looks like they're gonna lose here. 2 seconds down 67-63. I don't see any way.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
I'm gonna lose the final 14. 2 seconds away from being at least that side of it being real.
Bracket Buster City. Yeah, my back is to the TV, so I can't see what's going on. All right, moving on to the early afternoon, and I'm going to get over my tears of the Hawkeyes losing, and I'm not going to mess with Mike Triplett at all because he's probably really more upset than I am. ESPN's Mike Triplett, by the way, who's a regular guest at Datitude, is an Iowa guy, and I know he's really upset right now. We'll make fun of him tomorrow with Duncan. All right, the afternoon slate. Villanova, big favorite over the Delaware Blue Hens. USC is a slight favorite over Miami. Alabama, this is just unfair to Notre Dame to me. They played in Dayton last night, double OT, ended at 12:03 Eastern time. The luck of the Irish got them on, but now they got to go all the way across the country, and they got to play Alabama, where they are just a 4-point dog. So good luck, Notre Dame. It won't be St. Patrick's Day when you play tomorrow. And then Texas is a 1.5-point favorite over Virginia Tech. That, to me, might be one of the best games of the tournament.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like Virginia Tech in that one. The ACC champions, been on a good run. I think they're poised to make a pretty deep run. I got them going. Well, they'd run into Purdue in the second round of their team. Is capable of going to the Sweet 16, but it's kind of a bad draw there in the second round. And then that Notre Dame Alabama game's tricky because I'm tempted to want to go Notre Dame, but man, they had to empty the tank last night in double OT. So I think if it wasn't for all that, they'd probably cover there. But because they had to put all that into that play-in deal, I'd probably lean toward Bama. And then the other two, I'm not really feeling as far as playing them. Maybe USC over Miami, but don't feel real strongly about it.
I think that you have to. I think you have to like Alabama there, and I had Alabama losing to Rutgers, but after a double OT game, it's going to be hard for Notre Dame to go across, and man, that's kind of crazy. Oh, and here's something I didn't know that was tweeted out: Michael Thomas and Deshaun Watson share the same agent, hence why Michael Thomas may know something that we don't know. So I did not know that at all. If Michael Thomas is, and I hate to jump around here, but if Michael Thomas is unfollowing Deshaun Watson everywhere, it's probably not because they're going to be teammates. And there's a good chance that he does know something. That's kind of scary right there. All right, let's move on to the next. I'm trying to do about 3 things at one time. I apologize, y'all. Early evening slate. Some of the big games here. Obviously, the biggest one for us, LSU is a 4-point favorite over Iowa State. That is at 6:20 on TBS. Duke a big favorite over Cal State Fullerton, no surprise. Illinois, watch out. You got Chattanooga. The Mocs can make some noise there. That'll be an interesting game. And then Arizona, one of the biggest favorites in the first round, 21.5 points over Wright State, another team that was in a play-in game. And Arizona is a big favorite of a lot of teams in the tournament, of a lot of bracket fillers out.
Right. Spencer? Yeah. If for me, I've got them going all the way, winning it all. So I would take them here. I feel like somebody I put a little bit on Gonzaga today, because I feel like those teams like that are so much better than those 16 seeds where they should win by 30 points. In fact, the spreads are a little not as big as they should be because I consider this how much better they are. So that'd be probably my favorite play out of all these. Also, kind of I don't like Chattanooga to win, but I do think they could cover. They're a pretty solid team. They're out of those smaller schools. I think they could maybe give Illinois a little issue there. Illinois has been a little up and down. They haven't been super dominant for a Big Ten team. Big Ten's a tough conference. I wouldn't bet against them to win, but I think if you're trying to pick a dog, Chattanooga could cover that potentially. And we talked about LSU a lot this week. I still think they'll win and cover this one. I don't think they'll make a deep run, but I just don't like Iowa State.
All right, well, I am staying away from the LSU game. I have said multiple times I still feel the same way. They could win by 20 or they could lose. I don't think anyone has any idea what LSU is going to do tomorrow. Complete wild card with Will Wade gone and all the stuff that team is going through. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they play tomorrow. I don't really like any of these games, to be honest. If I had to pick one, I would probably take Chattanooga to cover against Illinois because I think that's going to be an interesting game. But really, none of these 4 games am I going to probably play. Maybe I'll go to dinner with the family. Who knows what I'll be doing tomorrow evening. I'm not sure. Let's move on to the late games because I do want to get back to football before we round out the show. In the late evening slate, this to me is one of the more interesting games. I really like UAB here against Houston, especially getting 8.5. I don't know if I'll pick them on the money line. I did pick them in my bracket, but it's kind of one of those things where I don't think they're going to win the next game anyway. Then you got Michigan State against Davidson, a 7-10 game. Michigan State, Tom Izzo always wins in the first round, but he's just a 1-point favorite over Steph Curry's alma mater. That's going to be an interesting game. Wisconsin playing Colgate, just an 8-point favorite. And then an 8-9 game, which has become a pick'em, Seton Hall and TCU.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting slate here. I like Houston to cover that. I think Houston's an underrated team. I mean, they went to the Final Four last year, and they've shown that they're a strong team. I mean, I think they're kind of a little bit underseeded there at 5, so I think they'll win that one fairly handily. And then Davidson, Michigan State, very interesting. I would probably pick Davidson. Don't feel too strongly about it because, like you said, with Tom Izzo, the Michigan State's a battle test. I think they'll be in it, but I guess I'd pick Davidson if I had to pick. And then don't really feel too strongly about the last 2. I guess I'd go Wisconsin and TCU. But yeah, those are all going to be close probably.
Okay, before we get back to football, I do want to talk about the women's tournament for just a moment. The LSU Fighting Women's Tigers are a 12.5-point favorite over Jackson State, the 3 against the 14. That is Saturday at 4 p.m. on ESPNU. LSU, I think they're going to have a really good tournament. I don't know how far they're going to go, but with Kim Mulkey here, they have been playing so well. I know they tripped up to Kentucky in the SC tournament, but so did everybody else. They even beat South Carolina. Kentucky won the tournament, so that'll be interesting to see going forward. And then if we look at the odds of the LSU in the NCAA women's bracket, Patrick, we can move on to the next slide real quick because I do want to close out the show with football. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not run that. We want to talk about the Pels real quick. Spencer, all right, here's the deal with the Pels. 1.5 games ahead of both the Spurs and the Trailblazers. To me, this is one huge stretch they got coming up. Tomorrow night, or after this, they just finished a homestand, which they did really poorly. The good news is the Spurs and Blazers haven't been very good either. So the Pels are still a game and a half up for that 10th spot. They got the Spurs twice before the end of the month. In fact, the Spurs twice in 8 days. To me, those are 2 games that they have to win. And then the last game of the month, they play at the Portland Trailblazers. And They play the Lakers twice in 4 days coming up as well. They got them on March 27th. Then I believe they play them in L.A. on either April 1st or April 2nd. Key stretch coming up here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is time for the Pels, man. They got to turn it up here and get some dubs. This is a fairly tough stretch. I mean, the 3 East teams they get are all playoff teams, and then the West teams are all teams that are right in the thick of things. So it's kind of ironic how the schedule played out. They get the 2 against the Spurs here down the stretch and 1 against the Blazers. So I like that, though, because they kind of get to pretty much control their own destiny. You know, if they take care of business here, they'll get in. If they slip up, well, they might not get in, you know, so they've got to get it done here. You know, got to get Brandon Ingram back healthy and hopefully Zion at some point next month. But for this month, you know, they need to get Brandon Ingram back for this stretch here because these are some tough teams. I mean, if they would have a lull here, they could very well miss it. But I think with I think with him coming back here soon, they'll be okay. They should be able to win hopefully 5 of these 7.
I think that Friday is as close to a must-win as there is such a thing at this point in the season. If you lose to the Spurs there, you're putting yourself in a position to where then the following Saturday when you play them at the Smoothie King Center, then you really is a must-win. So they're in weird territory right now. I think this team has worked so hard. It would be a shame if they didn't at least make the play-in game. But this is a favorable schedule. Even though it doesn't really look at it, you talk about the 3 teams in the East that are all playoff teams. Yes, but they can beat the Hornets even though they played poorly against them last week. I think they can play with them. Maybe not so much the Hawks and Bulls, but if you could find a way to win 3-4 games on this list, especially against 2 out of 3 against San Antonio and Portland, I think they'll be doing okay. We will certainly be talking a lot about the Pelicans going forward as they get into crunch time. Okay, I want to wrap up the show. Going back to football real quick. Got some interesting tweets on here. I have a lot of tweets to me. I appreciate everyone that has reached out to me and actually has left comments here on the show. We've had so much feedback here at bet.nola.com the last 3 days, and maybe it's because Zach's in Europe. You know, we finally got rid of Zach, and people are loving on us. What do you think, Pat Spencer?
Yeah, we could. And Zach likes Europe too. Right? He could just chill out there.
I should have sent sent the picture he sent, Patrick. I should have sent it to you earlier. It's a picture of him with a plate full of sausages and a big old mug full of beer. He's in Germany right now, and I gotta say, he sent this picture at 7 a.m. our time. Okay, so I realized that it was like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. But hey, buddy, slow down there. Slow down. Don't have too much fun, Zach Ewan. He will be back next week, and I think he's going to be on At the Book. I will be back here at Harris next week, but I think that Zach is going to be back on the show next week. I think he comes back in town on Wednesday. All right,
okay.
I think so.
Right.
I think I got my dates right. I'll have to check again. I know he's back soon. All right. My favorite tweet. It's not to me, but when I went looking for Deshaun Watson news, which it's been eerily silent about the last hour and a half to 2 hours. It comes from someone named Feather Jones. And Feather says she tweets at the Atlanta Falcons and at Deshaun Watson, and meaning she's a Falcons fan. We need you, Deshaun Watson. Please come home. He is from Georgia, by the way. If not, please don't pick the Saints. So I think Falcons fans just kind of feel the same way that Saints fans feel right now. You're either going to love this guy or you're going to hate him really, really soon, right?
Yeah. I'll just be glad when it's resolved. I'm just like, it's getting a bit annoying at this point with all this. I bet Watson himself's loving it. He's probably like, oh, he's just kicked back on his little tour, didn't get charged. So he's just like, man, he's living it up. As he figured he had his year of detention last year, didn't get to play at all. And now that he's off the hook from criminal charges, he's thinking he's got it made, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. He's
man, you're hating a little bit
figure, but I kind of am, honestly. I'm just kind of like, it's just because it's just like.
Are you hating Are you hating because it didn't get announced yesterday and we got to deal with all this drama another day, or are you hating because you just don't think he's the Saints' answer?
Kind of a combination of both. Like, I'm sick of hearing of it, and also like I don't think he's Like he's not. I'd rather Russell Wilson. Like so I just. Yeah, it's
right.
We'll see how it shakes out, but I'll shut up.
I think that Deshaun Watson, again, my opinion is kind of a mixed bag. While I think that the price tag is probably too high, at the same time, I think that he is a franchise-altering quarterback. I think he is a guy that makes the Saints instant contenders, not only in the NFC, but instant contenders to win the Super Bowl. There is no question in my mind the Saints are instant contenders if Deshaun Watson comes here. Now, you take that with a grain of he's probably going to be suspended for at least 2 to 4 games. Even though he was found not guilty, he's probably still going to suffer a little bit in some of those civil suits. So he is going to probably miss some time because the NFL is going to want to save face. B, Alvin Kamara is going to miss a minimum of 4 games, more likely 6 to 8 games. And we still don't know what's going to happen there because his trial got pushed back to April. So you're talking about the Saints probably needing a running back as well. And then this cornerback or the safety that we just brought over from the Jets, Spencer, he's going to have to miss probably 4 games because of a DUI arrest.
For real? Damn. And he's coming off a torn Achilles. Yeah, that's probably why we were able to get him on the low. Like the Marcus May deal was a team-friendly deal, but man, I didn't realize he had a DUI on top of it. Damn.
Yeah, I don't want you hating on him yet. Don't start hating. I mean, you're in a hating kind of mood today. Did Iowa end up losing? That's why you're hating.
Yeah, oh yeah, they lost. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. All right, my bracket is busted already. Another tweet that I find. All right, here's why you kind of have to you have to be careful with social media. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Jay Macklin says Deshaun Watson didn't sit out 1 year just to join the Saints and sit out 10 plays per game for Taysom Hill. It's Falcons all the way. The holdup might be the Matt Ryan to the Colts paperwork in a 3-way deal. I don't think that Taysom Hill playing – first of all, Taysom Hill doesn't play quarterback 10 plays a game. It's more like 4 or 5 at most. Second of all, Deshaun Watson doesn't give a rat's keister about how many plays Taysom Hill is going to play. So that's a Falcons fan just hating on the Saints. Here's another one. Sweet November writes, any news? We really stressed. I hear you. I think Spencer is really stressed right now. Spencer the Guru
I'll be honest. Yeah, this is very this is a stressful time to be a Saint there because it's like you could if you get this guy, then you get him, and if you don't, then he goes to your division rival. So yeah.
Well, I'm obviously having fun with you today. I'm poking you a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know how we just lost Spencer, but Luke Smucker says, let's get Watson. I think that is the plan for a lot of Saints fans, right? So let's pull him back in real quick. He's so distraught. He X'd himself off the show.
Yeah, so, my internet felt the. I didn't touch the wrath, anything. Huh? My internet felt my.
The internet broke. All this news about Deshaun Watson, the internet's been broke.
Yep.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show. Spencer, I'm going to give you one final thought before we say bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, so what's my final thought here? I feel like I've given my take on Mr. Watson, so I don't need to say more about that. I guess my final thought would just be about this. I'll go with March Madness. March Madness is getting taken over by all this NFL talk. I guess my final thought would be just if your brackets off the bat start like Jim and I, don't stress. Don't stress too much because we still got a lot of games to go. We got a whole slate tomorrow. Got tonight's slate. There's because you got to think everyone's bracket has a chance to get busted at some point. Just because you have an early blow doesn't necessarily mean you need to tear it up. There's still a long way to go. So just stay patient. If your final 2 are still in it, that's I know a lot of the contests, they give you a lot of points if you can pick the last 2. So, hey, even if you lose one of your final 4 early, if you can at least keep your final 2, you still have a shot.
Spencer is quoting Kenny Rogers. We've got tonight. There you go. Sheena Easton. I think that was Sheena Easton, too. Anyway, all right. I derailed myself off the train here. My final thought is that you're not going to have to wait much longer. I know that most of the people tuning in this show want to know about Deshaun Watson. We all do. I don't like what I've seen today. I really don't. My gut feeling now is telling me that he's going to Atlanta, and that's going to be quite a turnaround from looking like it's going to be a Saints deal to being a Falcons thing. So that is what my gut's telling me. I want you all to come out and make sure you listen in to Datitude again tomorrow morning. I hate to keep plugging it, but I tell you, tomorrow's going to be one of the better shows because Jeff Duncan has as much inside information and not only the inside information, but he has more insight on this organization than any man in America. That I can promise you. He has the insight on these guys. Been covering them for 20 years. Like nobody else. So he will be on tomorrow with us to talk about that, and we look forward to it. But that is going to wrap it up for us about Spencer. I'm sorry about your bracket. Mine is in just as bad a shape. Maybe we can pull our best bets through and give our friends something to love on, right?
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, we got UConn as the top pick. Yeah, because right. South Dakota State didn't come through. So yeah, go.
Man, UConn. they closed within UConn. 3 there. Yeah, they closed within 3 there. Then couldn't pull it out. That's all right. All right. Well, we will be following the Deshaun Watson situation. We will be giving you our thoughts on the NCAA tournament. Make sure you stick around with us at bet.NOLA.com. Datitude tomorrow. We'll be back with Bayou Bets on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend. For Patrick McGee, who behind the scenes have been helping out, Spencer the Guru. And we say hello out there to Devin Jackson, who couldn't be with us today, and Zach Ewing, our friend who is in Germany, and we'll be back at some point next week. I'm Jim Derry. Adios. See you later.